Hello again, and welcome to a new live show on AUK Radio. I'm your host, Yinka, and this show is all about your health and wellness and everything else in between. And on today's show, it's no exception. We will be talking about the everything else in between, at least one of the things in between. And this is a follow on the last episode on parenting in uncertain times, part two. So today I am super excited because I've got two guests joining me on the couch today. But before we go on, like we always do, we provide you information for educational purposes only, especially when we're talking about our health and our well being. We're not here to diagnose, neither are we here to cure nor heal any ailments whatsoever. So please do speak to your healthcare provider in the first instance, especially if you're considering making changes to your lifestyle. And of course, we're talking about parenting in this episode today. Whatever we tell you and you want to find out more, you can speak to our guests and, of course, speak to the relevant agencies to get the appropriate information that suits your situation. So, without further ado, let me invite my first guest to get Maureen. And no, Maureen is coming later on. It's Margaret coming in first. You see, both names starts with M and M, hence the confusion. But they're two different individuals. So welcome to the show, Margaret, and thank you for accepting our invitation today.
You're welcome. Thank you for
Thank you.
having me.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So I am going to read a very short, or rather my summary of your bio because it's quite lengthy because you've been in this field for a long time. So Margaret Jumi Taribo is a founder of Parent Skills to Go and Distinct Family Services. She's a parenting guru, a fierce advocate for marginalized communities and families, and the author of Can You Hear Me? And Living Life in a Foreign Land. Margaret has got over 20 years in family services, so she knows what she's talking about. Margaret knows how to turn stress into solutions. So welcome again, Margaret, to the show.
Thank you.
So how are you doing today, Ma?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Enjoying the beautiful sunny weather we have in the United Kingdom?
I am. And even though people might want to say otherwise, I'm going to say yes because I don't want to be negative. Because when it's cold, I do not like the cold. So no matter how hot it is, I try to zip my mouth to say I'm enjoying it.
Yep. I'm with you on that one. It's one thing we always talk about in the United Kingdom, isn't it? We always talk
Yeah.
about the weather. Or
Yeah.
complain about the weather. It's too hot.
Yeah.
It's too cold.
It's too cold.
But like you and I, we're learning to appreciate the weather
Yeah.
as it is. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting some vitamin D, and it just makes you feel good when it's nice and sunny, doesn't it?
And it makes you laugh, smile more. People are more chirpy. I don't know what it does. Yeah, I think it's that thing. Maybe you know that word, Yinka, about SAD, sad when it's
Yes,
cold.
yes.
So yeah, and so there's something about the weather that lifts the mood or pulls it down. So I think that
Mm.
has to do a lot with our mental well-being as well. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Which is why they encourage people to get out in the fresh
yeah,
air, get some sunshine, because it does us good, not just the
yeah,
body, but also mentally, like you
yeah.
mentioned. Yeah, okay. Well, let's dive into it because, like I said, on today's show, we've got two powerhouse guests. So, Margaret, my first question to you, what was your inspiration for starting Parent Skills to Go? And just tell us a little bit more about Parent Skills to Go.
Okay, thank you. So in a way, I can't say I started it myself. My background is Sure Start, so I've worked with a lot of families,
Okay.
parents over the years, and because of the work we were doing then, we were empowering parents to take charge of their lives, of their businesses, and there was going to be a lot of restructuring going on at that point in time. So some of the parents that were in a group that I had started called Little People's World. This was far back in 2004, 2005.
Wow.
Um,
Long
so we
time.
mentored them, and they decided to start Parents Schools to Go with help from the local authority, and
Wow.
that was in 2010. Now, unfortunately, that couldn't move forward. So I was
Mm.
invited back in 2017 to take over. So I took over Parent Skills to Go in 2017, restructured it to bring it to where it is today.
Wow. Excellent.
So when you look at what is Parent Skills to Go, so it's a
Mm-hmm.
CIC.
Mm-hmm.
We work. It's an organization set up for parents by parents. We deliver soft outreach programs and events to promote the well-being of families, young people, and children.
Mm.
And that looks at it in a holistic sense. So it's not just doing. So the way we do the programs is that it looks simple. It looks it looks simple,
Mm-hmm.
that, oh, we're doing holiday programs, but it impacts on the mental wealth or the mental health of children or
Mm.
families.
Mm.
But it's also about their parents as well. So, and what does it do to people economically? How do we
Mm-hmm.
promote economic well-being? How do we promote financial well-being? How do we promote social well-being? So we use these soft outreaches in terms of activities, workshops,
Mm.
even the fun things to promote well-being.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a lot of things like we have volunteering programs, so parents can come and volunteer, individuals, young people can come and volunteer because that promotes their well-being. They
Mm.
can use that to develop skills while they're looking for work or while they're staying at home. And I'm passionate about that because we've come from a situation whereby a lot of parents have children, and because of the children, they're at home with their children. What are they doing? So we said, come and volunteer, come and get involved. And that actually helps them. So it's like saying you're killing two birds with one stone.
Mm.
While you're getting the children ready to go to school, you might as well keep yourself busy, attend courses,
Absolutely.
attend programs, and yeah. So we do that. We have holiday programs, we have volunteering programs, we have workshops, parenting workshops, we
Mm.
have sewing workshops, we do quite a few. So all of these come together to develop and promote well-being.
Mm.
And at the moment, I can talk about that later. It's
Yeah.
looking at My Child and Me, which is the baby of Parent Skills to Go, but it looks at mental health through the lens of culture
Mm.
because we're looking at how can we use culture to support parents to understand their mental health as
Mm-hmm.
well as support their children. So yeah,
Excellent.
that's who we are.
Wow. I think we can end the show right there. Well, thank you so much for that elaborate answer. And I think that was one of the things that attracted me to the work that you do. You talk about being it's holistic and it's the well-being. I keep hearing that word well-being, well-being, and this is what the show is about. So, in my first episode about parenting, which our second guest we also were featured in, and we'll also come back on today, it was okay. What's the connection between parenting and our health? But there's a connection there, and it's
Yeah.
understanding the impact of parenting on not just the health of the children, but also the parents as well.
Yeah, I've been in spaces and I'm still getting into spaces whereby it's either, oh, the young people, the children. And I've had to be, and I'm an advocate to say, look, you cannot leave the parents out of the
Mm,
equation. We live in a society now that, yes, we're thinking about the children, but there can be a situation whereby the child is well taken care of, but you can go back full cycle if
mm,
you're not bringing the parents in. So if that child goes back home and the parent is not, they're not on the same level,
mm,
and they're not supported in the same way, that child can go back to where he was before or where she was before because the parent has no clue. So you can,
mm,
so, and then actually that parent can actually feel intimidated by, oh, they're supporting my child, but where am I? Because I
mm,
might not understand. So we try to, like, let's bring in the parents into that.
mm,
Let's support the parents because the parent is the first and foremost teacher. The parent is the first person. If you bring that parent in, and even if that parent doesn't, I do, part of the program I run, I look at co-regulation. So if you have a regulated parent and you have a regulated child, you have a co-regulated family. But if you have one of them that is dysregulated, then it will affect the other. So it's about looking at that holistically.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, wonderful. Okay, on a lighter note now.
Yeah, let's go to lighter note.
So you do workshops and you work with family. So what is
Yeah.
one funny or hilarious or even heartwarming moment you've had while working with some of these families?
I think it's, I was even thinking about that with a colleague today, and I was like, what is it? There have been a lot of challenges, I won't lie. But I think the heartwarming moments were when I take part within the sessions or the activities or the events that we do. So we run like we have things for International Women's Day, we have things for Father's Day, and then when we have the games and stuff, and they pull me in. So while I'm trying to like, oh, let's make sure that things are fine, people pull me into that. Say, no, Margaret, come and join us, and then you can see me mess myself up a bit by when we have some games that we're doing and I'm part of that and they can start laughing at me that see the CEO so I can laugh at myself and then we
That's
can
right.
laugh together. And I think I find that quite fun. So
Yeah.
and then watching, I think for me as well, observing the fun, the smiles, the laughter on the young people, especially as they're engaging with their parents. For me, that is powerful. Sometimes because sometimes parents they even at the children you see them laughing at their parents. I think there was a time that was some years ago we had a cooking competition with the children and their parents and you can say come on mom you could do it and seeing them do that, oh my god, the competition, that makes me laugh all the time, and you can see the way they're running and yeah, it's fun. I like those are the those that for me is heartwarming. Another one I can point out to is like when I take them out on trips. So we do seaside trips, we do quite a number of trips. And I remember one year, I want to say it was emotional for me, but it was heartwarming when the parent was crying and said, "This is her first time of coming to the seaside,"
Wow.
and I felt, yeah, that was
Mm.
heartwarming. So there's so many I can point to. So
Yeah.
many.
Yeah.
When I see a parent that couldn't speak learn how to speak. When I see a parent that not wanting to take part in taking pictures because of her religion or because of her family and then they said, actually I want to do this now. That for me is heartwarming. The
Absolutely.
little things.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
when you see a parent that said, I can actually speak better now. I can advocate. Or I did
Wow.
one of the sessions on autism once and one of she had a 2 year old and she kept on going to the GP and but because we did a 5 week basic autism workshop, she could come back and say, actually, they're listening to me now. I'm getting an assessment for my child. That is heartwarming. I can
Wow.
celebrate so many. Yeah,
Wow.
that's just a few.
Wonderful. Wow. That's a lot of stories you've
Yeah.
mentioned, which is, yeah, definitely heartwarming. I mean, I also do a part-time role where you take children out, and like you said, you hear a child say, my first time doing this, my
Yeah.
first time doing that,"
Yeah.
and it's so, yeah, it's quite heartwarming, and at the same time humbling. I think, I just,
Oh, you can tell say that. Even
yeah,
for the theater. You know some of our children they've never this year in January, I think it's January, I took over 70 people to watch The Lion King, to watch The Lion King.
yeah, yeah,
And what they were saying, they've never been to the theater, they've never watched a show like that. That was
wow,
like, wow.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
still dreaming, I'm still reliving that experience
yes,
with
yes,
families.
yeah. It's it's such an honor to be able to
It is.
offer such. Yeah, it's such an honor. Well, thank you for that. Okay, so we're getting a little bit more serious now. But so, what are some of the invisible weights that you see parents carrying, especially with those dealing with immigration, financial stress, or even maybe in the mental health challenges.
It's interesting that you say that, Yinka, because everything you've said ties into mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. So it's not one or the other. It all ties in because sometimes you have a family that they might be going through, yes, because of their immigration status,
Mm.
they feel there might be financial abuse going on in the home, domestic abuse going on. I'm actually handling a case right now. I'm supporting a parent right now that came in with her COS, but has is been, you know, under that struggle because immigration can play its role, but then because immigration also links to housing, housing also links to the
Mm.
support. So all this ties into mental well-being, and the parents come with that.
Mm.
And that ties into how they support their children and how they can. And then, unfortunately, for some of our families, because the parent is now focusing, I've got to get this done, I've got to get my
Mm-hmm.
immigration sorted, the child is left out of the
Yeah.
equation or is not carried along or carried
Mm.
along in not such a positive way. So
Mm.
so that's a weight. Immigration is a weight because they're trying to, and then when they have to do the cost of renewing their papers every 2.5 years, where do they get the money from? Or they get scammed by a lawyer because they didn't read the paperwork well, or they've been referred to a lawyer that is not actually a solicitor, or a solicitor that's actually going to prison himself, and then they get,
Wow.
you don't want to hear the, you don't want to know the half of those stories.
Oh my
And that's why
God.
sometimes we have to deal with parents that, because they get into the wrong hands, they get the wrong advice, they now end up being in the situation for years and years. I've worked with parents that before they get themselves sorted, they might even take 10, 20 years. I've had
Oh
people
my
like that.
word. Wow.
So immigration, housing, people, parents sofa surfing with their children, parents being on the street. I've had people be referred to me by the health visitor. How do you support them? But so the mental health issue is it ties
It's,
in, and sometimes we always say that parents might not necessarily know what is it that is affecting their mental health until we actually dig deep into it. But they just know that they're not happy. What's making them
mm,
happy? I just need to get this done, and the
mm.
stress of that alone is it can be mind-boggling. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. I think you answered my next question, which is what I was going to ask about some of the stressors for marginalized families. You know, we've talked about, you've mentioned about immigration, housing. Is there anything else?
There is the issue of not understanding the system.
Okay.
We might be in a system but not be part of that system. And
Mm,
I'd like to use the educational system as an example. So many people who come from Africa, the Caribbean, the way we will deal with situations because we come with that authority bias whereby we think, oh, because we come from a background whereby teacher knows best, doctor knows best, the system knows best,
mm-hmm.
we leave our children to that system. We bring in what we've learned from our culture into that system. And then we now find out that our children are missing out or we
Mm,
don't provide the support, especially when there is an element of maybe the child might have autism and we're not aware,
mm,
or the child has there's ADHD or there's depression or anxiety. We are in denial of that. So there's some of this. So there's a lot going on there that we're working with. That I was even sharing it. I was at a meeting this morning, and I was talking to one of my somebody that we partner with, and we took parents to an event, but because the parent didn't understand how to handle her child, she didn't understand what mental health is. She didn't understand what send means. Sometimes we're
mm,
signing people up. They don't understand what send is. They don't even
mm,
believe their children have anything like that. And
mm-hmm.
then now you find out that the child is struggling.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's looked at as misbehavior.
Yes.
Now it leads on to exclusion from school. Now
Mm,
it leads on to something that the child is now left on the street. Why? Because either the parent is in denial, and then that child is, and sometimes it's about you push yourself through. I've met with colleagues that they didn't get their diagnosis of ADHD or dyslexia until they are doctors, GPs, but because we now have to push ourselves to go the extra mile. Why should we do that? Why don't we understand that system so that we can get the support we need? Why can't we humble ourselves? These are things that we are passionate about to get ourselves educated on. So the system is one of the big stresses as well. Understanding one of the things we're tackling right now is health inequalities. The
Mm-hmm.
way people from that look like us are treated is different from the way our counterparts are treated, because either it's we're ignorant, or either we don't want to speak up, or either we don't have advocates enough. So these are the things that stress us, and then there's an imbalance, and
Mm.
then the system capitalizes on that.
Wow. So what I'm hearing is awareness, education,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
changes in the system. Because when even the people in the system are educated, then changes can happen.
Yeah, I call that cultural awareness,
Cultural
cultural
awareness, yes,
competencies.
yes.
If you're not culturally aware, how can you be cultural competent? How do
Mm,
you understand that a child from a different culture doesn't look somebody in the face, but in this culture, you have to look at me. If not, it's look like you're not secure. How
mm,
do we look at that? But it's not just that, but it's how do we as parents as well humble ourselves to want to learn, to
mm,
change, and to adapt.
mm, mm. You echo what Maureen said in the first episode about one having a vision as a parent
Yeah.
and educating oneself. So being aware. So yeah, you said it again. So listeners,
But I,
go
I
on.
also need to I also need to say that I don't really want to blame parents, because
No,
some parents
no.
are more able than others.
Yes, yes.
Sometimes the weight of this world is so that I can't do that now. I just need to eat first.
Mm,
I just
mm,
need to have a roof over my head first. I just need to get out of that abusive relationship first. So
mm,
sometimes it's about that. So it's also about what support can be provided. How do we get parents to access and be humble, say, I need help.
mm,
But some people are crying for help, but how do they get that help? So learning and relearning it's massive, but we can take it step by step. But
yes,
it's about that engagement. Yeah.
yes, yes. Thank you. And that's what people like you and your organization are doing for families. So thank you,
Yes.
and more grace, more grace.
Thank you.
So my other question is, what is one parenting myth you wish could retire permanently in our community?
That parents know it all. I am the parent, yes, to a certain extent. I am the parent, but when do I humble myself to say I can listen?
Mm,
Because many times we think that I am the parent, so I need. Yes, we need to be heard, but sometimes it's the fact that we are in a different culture whereby we need to learn to how to listen to other people, listen to our children, listen to the things that are not said. But because we come with that baggage of like, regardless, I'm the parent, I don't care.
yeah,
We need to get rid of that. It's a myth that the parent is always right.
yeah. The parents is not always right. I've learned.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. And I'm still learning. I'm
Yeah,
telling you.
yeah. Still learning, still learning.
For
Yeah,
for
we're
each
still
for
learning.
each stage for each stage of our children's lives, we
Mm,
keep on learning. There's
mm-hmm.
always something. And I think it's about being humble enough
Mm, mm.
to want to learn,
Want to
to
learn.
take that step. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Thank you very much for that. So, this show is about our health and well being. So, in your opinion, what does family wellness look like practically?
I think, in my opinion, I think with the wholeness of being well in terms of you don't have to, for me, I don't know, this is me now,
Mm-hmm.
you don't
Yeah,
necessarily
your
have to
opinion.
have a lot of money to be well. It's
Mm,
about being aware of your feelings, your thinking, and your behavior. We don't get it right all the time, and we're not always happy all the time.
mm-hmm.
But being aware and being able to manage and navigate
Mm.
your
Emotional
feelings, your
intelligence.
behavior, yes, because I might be unhappy today, but doesn't mean that I'm staying down there.
Mm-hmm.
What do I
Mm-hmm.
have around me to keep me going? So I might have been upset at work. So there's a level of mental struggles there. But if I'm able to get up from that place and say, you know what, oh, I've messed up there, being aware of that, and then moving on, then that mitigates against being unwell. Or so it can be for physical, it can be physical, it can be mental, it can be emotional, it can be financial. So there's not every day we have the money we want. But do we, if we let that weigh us down, then we're going to the other extreme. So mental wellness is first and foremost that being aware of myself, being aware of how I feel, being aware of what I want, and being confident to receive help when it's needed. That for me, that can help our mental well-being a lot. And not wanting to be the other person. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
The comparison, isn't it? You
yes.
know.
Because that is depressing in itself when you
Yeah.
compare.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Wanting to be the other person, and then even comparing your children to the other person, or to the other child, or to the system, and putting that is that yeah, that can impact on mental well-being seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to ask you one more question. I'm going to try being back more in.
Okay.
So what's one parenting tip or revelation that lights up the room when you share in your workshop? You know, those aha moments.
One of the aha moments is that you are not just a parent. I take out the word just. You're a fantastic parent. You're a wonderful parent. You're a good enough parent, and you're still on a journey. If we can just have that, you will not feel judged, you will not feel patronized, and you will want to keep on doing what you need to do. And because the confidence you portray is what that child will see, and you can go on that journey together.
Wow. Excellent. I mean, words of wisdom. Thank you very much for that. And of course, for all the nuggets you've shared so far.
Thank you so much.
So hang on, hang in there. We're waiting to
Okay.
bring in more.
So, let me just take a note of the time. Okay. And then, do you want to give her a call and see if she can? You want to give Maureen a call and see if she can join again?
Okay. She probably
See if the
won't.
invite should still work.
See if the invite still works. Okay. Oh, I can't seem to call her on. Let's see if I can call her on her phone. Okay. Okay, it's ringing. Ringing. Ringing.
Yes, dear.
Hello, sis.
Mm.
Do you want to try and join in now?
Okay, let's see. Hopefully to work.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on.
Yes, that's fine. I only have a handful of questions for you today, anyway.
Okay, no
I was
worries.
just looking forward to getting you two together in the room.
Yeah, I've done the now, but I didn't know
Okay.
why it didn't work this time.
Let's keep trying. Auntie Margaret,
Yeah.
are you still all right for a few more minutes?
No worries.
Okay.
Oh, crazy feedback.
Shall I take that off?
Okay, she's joined. No.
I can hear her. Oh,
On the phone. Not
on the phone. No.
I can hear you.
Oh.
I can hear you.
No, who can you hear? Me or Maureen?
I can hear both. I can hear Maureen. I can hear you.
She can hear more.
Oh. Hold on a sec. Let's see, because I couldn't hear her at all.
Mm. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
There we go.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
What's up?
Nice.
We can hear you now,
Okay.
loud and clear.
Okay.
Oh, well done,
Mhm.
sis.
I didn't do anything, so I'm thinking maybe it's Wi-Fi related.
Possibly.
Mm,
Possibly.
mm,
Okay, we'll get started in just a minute.
okay. Let's see how we can join together these questions. Let me know when we're ready.
Yeah, we'll get started.
We can start. Oh, I do need to read her bio, don't I? Where is it? That's not fun. Okay. Right. What am I doing now? Because we cut it. So my next guest, who was here in the first episode on parenting in uncertain times, is back again. I did say I was going to invite her back, so we're in for a treat. So welcome back, Maureen. Now, just to remind you who Maureen Carew is, she's a leadership coach, a ministry mentor, CEO of Right Impressions Limited. She leads Mothers Unite, which is a prayer platform. She's also a mentor to many youths, and she also hosts a Bible club for children. She is indeed a spiritual mother to many with a heart for prayer, parenting, and purpose. So, welcome back on the show today again, Maureen Carroll.
Thank you for having me.
And well, apologies on behalf of the technical issues we had earlier, but we're glad you could join here. We can hear you. You can hear us as well. So I have had Margaret. We've talked. We've asked lots of questions. He's answered questions similarly to what he did the last time. So I've just got a few more questions to ask you today because we didn't finish last time. So, Maureen, from your spiritual and mentoring lens, what's something families often overlook when it comes to staying emotionally and spiritually well?
I would say it's communication. Communication is vital in any relationship.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, in some circles, it's not every culture, but predominantly in the BME culture, we'd still hold on to children seen and not heard. And so communication is key if you're going to have wholeness in any family, because unless I tell you what's wrong with me, you just be guessing. And if
Hmm.
you're guessing, you won't apply the right solution to my problem. So
Hmm.
communication is key. It's,
Yeah.
it's a key to wholeness, healing, wellness in any family setting.
Hmm. Well, thank you. And like you said, it's the key, even to any relationship, even at work, with other members of family, of the community, we need to communicate so you can understand what I'm trying to say, and I can understand what you're trying to say as well. So I'm going to ask this, piggybacking on this question that I've just asked. What is the one parenting myth you wish could vanish totally from the Bain community?
I think I've just mentioned it, which
Mm-hmm.
is the fact that children are seen and not heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that people do that intentionally. I think, especially in the busy world that we are in, most
Mm.
parents are not present in the lives of their children
Yeah.
with the best intentions in the world. At the end of the day, they're going out there to provide for their family.
Family. Yes.
But the irony of it, and the danger and the threat to the families, that they're busy providing for them, that they're not, making sure that they're present in the lives of their children.
Mm.
And that's the big irony of life. Parents are trying very hard to provide for their children, But I think it's a misdiagnosis, thinking that maybe things would compensate for their presence. But it's really being able to balance both. Like I mentioned, I think in the previous cast, I did say that my husband and I, we had to make sacrifices. I won't even call them sacrifices because they were things that we willingly did.
Mm-hmm.
For our firstborn, my husband stayed home 3 years. For the second one, I stayed home 3 years. And when you look at our family setup today, there are no regrets. And we
Mm-hmm.
look at our children, they're well grounded, they're well rounded individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is not boasting, but many people look to my family setup as an example,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's all glory to God. It's not because we know how to, we just decided that
Mm-hmm.
we were going to listen to God and we wanted to raise our family the right way.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have an open policy where our children are able to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Even with, I mean, you know, they could start a sentence with, "Mom, I don't mean to be rude, but," you know, and you know there's something coming that you may not really like, but they're going to drop a bombshell on you. But that's the environment that we have created safe places for our children to be able to express themselves without negative repercussions
Yes.
or
Yes.
negative consequences.
Fair, 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 fair. Thank you. Uh, you said, your family is being looked up to as an example of what a well-rounded family should be. Now, Margaret deals with a lot of marginalized families in the community. Now, how can people in that kind of situation build something like your kind of family, considering the stresses they're going through?
I think life is about priorities, and if you don't get your priorities right, you will miss out on a lot of things. So, for me, it's about what is my priority. When our children were little, for me, my priority was I need to raise these children. I saw them as an assignment from God. And so I tapped from God as well to lead me, to guide me. Now, I know that not every parent is a Christian, and even if they're Christians, not every parent has the kind of relationship that I have with God for me to be able to say that I hear from Him. So I think the next best thing is, what's your priority? I build my life around priorities. People ask me, how do you balance all these things? You know, you're here, you're there, we see you everywhere. At the same time, we see you with your children and we know you're present in their lives. And it's just about priority. When I'm in a zone, say for instance, you know, my parenting zone, I'm there, spirit, soul, and body. So it's number one, mapping out what's your priority. And I think there's, you know, there's no way we can escape stress. There is a lot of stress in the world, and everybody must be able to know how to de-stress. You know, for some people it's therapy, for some people, for me it's prayer. My relationship with God helps me to de-stress. So I wouldn't say that I don't feel stress, but I know where to go to de-stress. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
And to tap into, you know, I always say to myself, I always try to look for the equilibrium. You know, I look so much, I guard the peace in my heart, and whenever I think I'm losing that peace, I drop everything, you know. And I know that I'm saying this because I know not everybody, I think being an one of the things that I believe has helped me a lot as well is being an adult parent. And what I mean by that is I didn't start parenting until I was in my late 30s. By that time, I was very clued up as to what I want in life. Now, for people who start off, you know, maybe earlier than that, who haven't really matured and have really grown, don't have people like mentors in their lives, then those gaps would show when they're going through stress in life. So, one of the key things I always say to young people now is make sure you have mentors, people who you can go to, really unburden, people that you can be yourself with, you know,
Yeah.
without judgment, and that you are also able to receive a correction from them, because it's not just about unburdening your heart. If they want to give you counsel, you should be ready to be able to receive
Receive it.
counsel. Nobody
Yeah.
knows it all. So it's a mix of a lot of things, but people need to be able to be ready to also receive counsel. I found out that some people are in trouble but they still don't also want to receive your counsel. That's another kettle of
Mm,
fish,
mm,
I'm like, then why did you come to me if you
mm,
didn't want to receive the counsel that I want to give? So
mm,
sometimes people put themselves in this uh, space where they just want you to listen, but they don't want to receive from you. So such people, they will continue in that cycle of problems. But if
mm,
people want solution, if they're open, then they can at least try out the solution that you're
mm,
recommending
mm,
to try to find, alternatives to their
mm,
lifestyle.
mm,
But yeah, in this world there are problems, and honestly, we won't find solutions to everything, really.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for
Unfortunately.
that. Thank you for that. So, another question is, in your opinion, what does family wellness look like to you?
In my opinion, family wellness is creating a space where everybody is heard, everybody is seen, everybody knows that they're important, they're loved, they're valued. That's wellness. So you're looking
Mm,
at spirit, soul, and body. Third John says, I wish above all things that you are um well, and
mm-hmm,
your spirit and soul is, they are well, and it's
mm-hmm,
very important, and for every member of a household to know that, what, I have a right to be here,
mm-hmm,
and I am valued, I am loved. And that means that that person has a freedom to express themselves
mm-hmm,
without thinking that they're going to be judged or looked down on or rejected in any way. Like I said, we've always given our children room to express themselves,
mm,
even when what they're going to say is not what we want to hear. And we've learned to, my husband and I, create that environment where our children are able to talk to us.
mm,
Now, again, like I said, I know that not every family has have been able to build that, but that's what family wellness is for me, that my children
yeah,
can come home and feel safe,
yeah,
and not only safe but heard, and they
mm,
know that they're a valued member of the family setup. It's
mm-hmm,
very important, and that's what family wellness looks to me: spirit, soul, and body, not just physical health, but
mm,
mentally, emotionally.
mm-hmm,
I'm well rounded, and
mm,
when I'm home, I'm here, and
mm,
everybody, we all have equal status in the
yeah,
house.
yeah. Thank you. Just going back to what Margaret shared earlier about the parenting courses that they do, or workshops rather. One of the key points is not just about the parents or about the children, but about every member of the family. Bringing parents together to do fun things like cooking competition, building parenting skills where parents listen, where they hear their children talk, and just building that kind of conducive environment for the family because like you said, being well both in the spirit, soul, and the body, making sure every member of the family as well, likewise, is well in their spirit, in their soul, and in their body. And when we feel as a family member that we are heard, then we feel valued, we feel good.
Yes, I mean, that's what I've just said in a nutshell,
Yes, yeah.
describing what family wellness
Mm,
is exactly the same thing that I have said, that
mm,
every single person is valued.
yeah.
You have equal status, equal stake in the family setup.
Mm,
And that's, yeah. And like I keep saying, my children feel they have they don't have to ask permission to be heard.
mm,
They
mm,
just
mm,
speak because they know they have that,
yeah,
and they
yeah,
don't need permission.
yeah.
They speak freely. Everybody has, we spend time together, and we create that time. There's
That's
sometimes my
right.
husband and I, we create the time. You have to build, you have to
Mm,
nurture relationship.
mm,
And I think that's where people miss it,
mm-hmm.
even between husband and wife or parents and children. There is an
I
intentionality
see. Yeah.
in any relationship. You have to be intentional, or
Mm,
else you will drift apart
mm-hmm.
before you know it. You have to make sure that you're checking in with each other. Like
Mm,
my husband and I were always checking in with our children.
yeah.
My
Yeah.
son leaves work. Hi, mom, I've just finished today. You tell me everything that happened at work. I don't even
Mm,
have to ask him. He just, because that's our culture.
Yeah.
That's what we do in my home. We just talk. We talk to each other, and we didn't start, when they were old. We started with when they were young to let them know it matters to me how you feel, So then, and we share with them. When we're broke, we tell them we're broke. When we think, there's a windfall, then,
Yeah.
we all, that's the thing. If
Yeah.
we have any need and we're praying about something, we tell them, hey, this is the family prayer point. We need this,
Yeah.
So that's family wellness, where every single person has equal
Cool set.
status. Everybody, we're equal. It doesn't mean that because I'm the parent, I'm going to
You know it all.
the power. Exactly. Oh, well, that knowing it all, I always tell them, mommy doesn't know it all.
Mommy, it's not Google.
Exactly. I tell them, I said, Google is my friend too. Let's check in together.
Oh,
So I think another myth that we need to, maybe really do away with is parents letting their children know, letting their children think that they know everything. Because I keep drumming it into my children, I don't know everything. So it just makes you more humane to your children, And right from when they started school, we told them, my husband said, look, I never came first, so I'm not asking you to come first. And I told them I never came first. So I'm not asking you, I'm only asking you to do your best.
You're not
So
using
they never felt like
those
so they
stories.
never exactly. So they never came home with a, thankfully they don't have a bad report. But even the times when they misbehave, I'm like, okay, don't take after your mom, because actually I was quite naughty in school, but I've learned my lesson. And why did you go through the same thing? So I try to steer them off course,
Yeah.
off the naughty course. But we've always been open with our children. In fact,
Yeah.
sometimes my son would say, when they were little, Mom, come and tell us some stories about the times when you were naughty. I'm like, I don't want to encourage you. So they knew that mom was normal. She's a normal human
Yes.
being with
Yeah.
faults, I tell them we're all fighting temptation together. I'm tempted to lie just like you are tempted to lie. So let's help each other here. I don't like going to work every day, so I know how you feel when you don't feel like going to school.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Being open, like you said.
Yes,
I'm a
yes,
human being as
transparency,
well. Even though I'm mom,
honesty.
even though I'm dad,
Exactly,
I'm a human being
exactly,
first and foremost.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
transparency, honesty,
Transparency. That's it.
is key. And that's what brings the family unit together.
Yeah.
That's what brings them together. Once they know that you are approachable, mommy is a human being. The Bible says that Jesus is not untouched by our infirmities. It's because we can be real with him. So why can't our children be real with us?
With us.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's just it.
Well, thank you for that. You probably answered my next question, which is about what is, I know you do youth mentoring, club for young people, and you also speak to some parents as well. What would you say is one parenting tip or revelation that lights up the room when you're speaking to people?
There's no perfect family, so stop looking for one and stop trying to build one.
Oh, I can't hear you
Just learn
anymore.
to, oh, wow. There's no
Just give
perfect
1 second.
family.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you at all anymore. Excuse us. We're having a technical glitch right here. But we will be fixing that shortly. Is Margaret still with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
I hear very faintly now.
Your cable's out.
All right.
Is it?
Push it out.
Oh, I think when you moved. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay.
Sorry. Can you repeat that again, please?
Okay, so what's the parenting tip that I give to people that lights up the room was your question. And I said there are
Yes.
no perfect families.
Mm-hmm.
So stop trying to look for one or to build one. The important thing is learning to get along with each other, and I remember when I first spoke to a colleague at work. She had her child rather, because she's only got one son. He was a little bit of a troublemaker, and I said, "Oh well, but that's normal. What's your problem?" And she looked at me like, "Seriously?
What?
You're the first person that told me it's normal for my child to act up." I said, "Of course, children will act up. That's why we discipline them. So that's not a problem. It's just showing you he's got strong lungs, and you just have to tell him how to." And he said, "Oh, I wish you were in my house and you could tell my husband, because he's thinking that he's with me." I said, "No, no, no. So there are no perfect families.
Yeah.
There's none. And God is not asking us to build a perfect family. He's just saying that whatever He's given us, make the most of it. So we're going to have, I mean, Jesus said, in this world, you have tribulation, you have problems. But He's going to help us to navigate through those problems. How are we going to grow? Without like there's a Yoruba saying that says that the teeth and the tongue they fight. Why? Because you bite your tongue sometimes. Do you,
Yeah.
because of that, remove your teeth, or you remove your tongue? You just find a way of eating more carefully next time you're eating your best dish. So there are no perfect families. So usually when I let people know that, they kind of calm down and go, "Okay, we're in for a good time, so I can be normal here." There are no high expectations. Do you see what I mean?
Yes,
And
yes,
people put these
absolutely.
expectations on themselves as parents, and then it removes the transparency and the honesty, because you're trying to put a facade. You're projecting a persona that is not real.
Yeah.
We're human, and that means we will make mistakes. That's why, and when you're human, then it means that you're not too big to say sorry to your child when you've done something wrong, because we all have misconceptions. Sometimes I would have falsely accused them of something that maybe
Yeah.
even I did. And I'm like, "Okay, now I'm going to eat humble pie. I'm really sorry."
Yes. I've
you
eaten
know,
that
and you have
pie a
to,
number of times.
exactly. So there are no perfect families, and I'm not trying to create a perfect family. I'm just trying to create a safe space for every one of us to feel valued, loved, and seen and heard,
Yeah.
and for us to just be fine with each other. But
Yes.
we will have conflicts.
Absolutely.
We'll rub each other the wrong way. That's where love, kindness, forgiveness comes in, and we move on. So
Yeah. Yeah. No perfect family. No
no,
perfect family. Yeah.
no.
You mentioned about, just to make we'll be talking all seriously, which is good because we're here to learn. Now, in your family, you tell us, what is one meal that brings everybody together, and one meal that everyone is, or some people in the family are like, why did she cook that one today?
Okay. Well, again, talking about no perfect families. I know some families who like, "Oh, we have to eat together, we have to eat the same meal and whatever." To be honest, I think maybe jollof rice, but that's if I
Ah,
cook it well. Because if I don't cook it well, then everybody will turn up their noses and like, "Mom, what happened today?" I
it,
think the best meal that brings us together, now that I'm thinking about it, is my husband makes the most fantastic full English breakfast. I mean,
all
like, we
right.
are all, that's the moment when you see us all seated at the table together. I mean, like, everybody will look forward to that. It's a treat. My husband is a fantastic cook. And
Oh,
when we beg him, and he does, I mean, like, he does that family English breakfast on
yeah.
Sundays or Saturdays. Oh my goodness, everybody's present at the table. He's a better cook than I am, honestly. So what are the meals? What kind of? I can't even
So,
think of one thing that they would say. Why did you cook this? Yeah, Daniel doesn't like what do you call bolognese. So that's my younger son.
okay.
He doesn't like bolognese, so he would turn up his nose when I cook bolognese. But I'll just make an alternative for him.
Yeah,
Again, talking
yeah.
about there are no perfect families. I know not everybody will like my cooking either, so
Mm.
I'm okay with that.
sometimes I don't like my cooking. So,
Exactly. You just eat it anyway because you don't want to waste it.
absolutely. Uh, so, one final question for you. If you could tell every family one thing about health, this show is about our health and our wellness, and parenting is one topic that affects our health. So, if
Oh,
you could
yes.
tell every family one thing about health, what would it be?
Creating a safe space in your home.
Mm,
That's what I would say, because you see, when everybody, there's a lot to do that affects the physical health
mm-hmm,
when people are not emotionally whole or
mm,
mentally whole. And I think if there's a safe space, even when someone has a headache, like some children will hide it from their parents because they just
mm,
feel my parents don't love me enough, they probably don't care, or it's just
mm,
not part of them to be able to communicate every little thing with their parents. So
mm,
for me, it's creating a safe space, a
mm.
safe environment for every single person. When I
Yeah.
think about wholeness, I'm always thinking about environment. When
Mm,
I come into my home, do I feel like, oh, yes, I've shut out all the troubles?
mm,
I'm home now, I'm safe.
mm,
And that means that emotionally, spiritually, mentally, I'm just pulling everything together
mm-hmm,
and I
mm-hmm.
know that I belong here.
Yes.
And so a great stress has actually just rolled off my shoulders, just stepping into my home.
Mm, mm. Wow. Thank you for that. Creating a safe space in the home is what health means
To
to
me.
us in our family, to you. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to try and see if we can bring back Margaret. I've got two more questions for Margaret. So, Margaret, can you hear me?
He- Yes, I can. Hello.
Excellent. Excellent. So, talking about food, which I didn't get to ask you before, was what is one meal that brings your family together? Because I know you have two young adults. And what is one food, I don't know, whoever cooks it in the family, that maybe one or two members of the family does not like at all?
Um, I don't have, I can't, I don't really need to think too deep. But my children love my fried rice.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I don't know why, but they said, Mom, we prefer your fried rice. And it's also gotten to that stage. Even my siblings, they just like, is that fried rice? Even when we get together for Christmas, is that fried rice?
Oh,
And I
wow.
don't know why. I do try to cook the jollof rice, but I don't do that too well. But the fried rice, for some reason, it turns out well,
Oh,
and
wow.
it brings everybody together. So yeah,
Excellent.
they love that. That brings us all together. They're excited about that.
That's
Yeah.
good. Good to hear. So, final question for you is if you could tell every family one thing about health, what would that be?
I think I've even mentioned this before. It's a bit
Probably.
be self-aware. Be
Mm,
self-aware.
mm,
For me, sometimes, especially as people from our community, we present as strong, so we're not really aware of how we feel, of how
mm,
we sense things, and we keep on going on, we keep on going on until something now happens that
mm,
stops us in our tracks. It might be physical, it might be mental, it might be emotional, but many times I find out that we just keep on doing what we need to do and we ignore the pain, whether it's emotional. And so many times we're in denial of how we feel, or we don't want to think about it because it's going to stop us. Because once you think about it, it's like it slaps you in the face. For me, it's about wellness, is about being self aware. And when you have that, when you're aware, seek help. Be humble enough to say, I really need help. It might be for my my emotional, my mental, my physical. Let's look for help. Let's talk about it. We are people that hide a lot. We just don't want people to know our. I did a video once. I said, when is your secret secret? There's a time you don't need to keep secrets. You need to be open up and humble yourself. So I think it's about that is wellness for me. Being self-aware, and then you can get the help. It might be for the children as well. I've been in situations in my life that with my son, it's like, oh, he was going through a tough time. Who do I talk to? Because sometimes we don't, what are they going to say? They're going to say, oh, he's a pastor's son, or is this that? But and then I found out that, oh, I'm not the only one in this. And then we could pray together, we could talk together, and then we could actually, then we can get, there's solutions. But I think it's about being humble enough. Because like I said, mental health for me, or mental health, wellness
Wellness.
it's a holistic thing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I was going to tell you, also, listeners and viewers, this is one of the books that I mentioned that Margaret Terrible has written. And I remember reading it. I think it took me about an hour and a bit. I sat down in the car doing Uber moment, and I read it. And the story in there, one thing I got from it was the fact that the mom, okay, now we have two moms in the story, but the mom at the start of the story was not emotionally aware. So that affected her relationship with herself, with her daughter, and even the other children she had when she had a failed marriage, first one, and then going into a second marriage. If she was only emotionally aware, perhaps some of the troubles that befell her would not have come into her life in the first place. So, Margaret, where is this? Where can our viewers get this book?
You can get it on margarettaribo.com easily. And then from that, you can either order, or you can go on Spotify and get it on Spotify, because it's
And listen
streaming
to the
now
audio.
on Spotify. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you. You're doing amazing work. So, thank you very much to both our guests, to Margaret and to Maureen. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for the humor as well. So you can also connect with Maureen Keru. She's the CEO of Right Impressions Limited, and she's a leadership coach as well. So you can also find her in LinkedIn and on Instagram at Right Impressions. So let's continue conversation about leadership, about our health and well-being within our family, and of course, within our communities. So I have been your host today, Adeyinka Omishore, and like I like to end the show with, let's all get wealthy together by staying healthy. And until next time, take care.